Hi everybody. Hi there everyone, Gabby here with a new video called Favorite Authors. Now, some of you may be wondering if I plan on finishing uploading the videos from Albuquerque and continuing WTF Doki Doki Literature Club. The answer is yes. It's going to take a little bit more time, but I do plan on uploading them. Also, my first assignment for my class is due soon, so I have to work on that too. However, it will happen. So, let's start this series off with an author that I think most of you may or may not know about. Gabriel Garcia-Marquez. First off, who was he? Well, here's a few facts about him. Number one, he was born in Aracataca, Colombia on March 3rd, 1927, and he died on April 17th, 2014 in Mexico City. Number two, he was awarded the Neustadt International Prize for Literature in 1972 and the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1981. He originally started in law school, but he became a journalist. He never finished his studies, but he got an honorary doctorate in writing from Columbia University. Number five, among his literary influences are Franz Kafka, Virginia Woolf, and William Faulkner. When writing for his first newspaper, number 8, he used the pen name Septimus. And he was once punched in the face by another author for his friendship with Fidel Castro. Ouch. And he was a film critic, served on many film boards, and wrote several screenplays. Now, let's get into some of my favorite works of his, starting with one of his most well-known, 100 Years of Solitude. I realize now that that's probably going to look backwards. Oops. The novel tells the story of Macondo as it's tied with the fortunes and misfortunes of the Buendia family. It begins with a murder and ends with a prophecy. I won't go into the story, as we'll be here for a while, but here are some of my favorite things about the book. I really like the narrative tone of the book. Gabo doesn't stick with just one narrator, as can happen with a lot of novels. He chooses to have each member of the Buendia family, as well as those who are on the fringes of the family, such as a woman named Pilar Tenera, who is tied very intimately with the Buendias, specifically the men. While multiple narrators can sometimes bog a story down, Anna Karenina, here, it doesn't happen. Secondly, it's the way Gabo describes the scenery. It's very beautiful. You really do feel as if you're in the tropical jungle where the story takes place. And at one point in the series, in the book, there is actually a description of finding a full Spanish galleon shipwreck. That's pretty cool. And finally, it's the magical realism. It was I would say that there was realism before Gabo started writing it, but when he did it, he took it to another level. It makes you feel as if you're in a whole different universe. It seems to pervade the whole sense of the story, a sensibility of the story as a whole, with fantastical events that may seem amazing somewhere else, but here it's generally accepted that these things happen. Case in point, spoiler alert, a young woman is hanging laundry outside when, apparently being too wise for this world, she ascends into the sky. Where else could you read something like that? So, this book is the one that got the world's attention about Gabo, and deservedly so. I will warn you that there are some, uncomfortable parts of the book that may be a little hard to get through, but for the most part, it is a fantastic book. The second of my favorites is called Chronicle of a Death Foretold, a small novella published in 1981. It isn't as long as 100 Years of Solitude, but it gives you another example of Gabo's non-linear narration. I like to think of this as a murder mystery in reverse. Now, why do I personally call this a murder mystery in reverse? Well, major spoiler alert, the two brothers openly tell everyone that they're going to kill Nassar. And no one really does anything about it. Remember how I said that Nassar wasn't exactly liked? Well, a lot of people thought that he was told, the two twins were stopped, and it was just some drunken BS. The unnamed narrator, possibly modeled after Gabo himself, goes back many years after the murder to speak with everyone who was involved, including the family of the bride, and one of the twins who was acquitted of the crime and got married. Supposedly, this is based off an incident that Gabo himself heard about and decided to adapt it into a novel. He goes into themes of gender and morality and asks you, the reader, one question. If you found out a man was to be murdered and you had the chance to stop it, would you? What would you do? Final book that is my favorite is the only one so far that has gotten a full movie adaptation, and that is Love in the Time of Cholera. This one is one of my personal favorites due to the fact that this is based off of Gabo's parents' courtship that happened in real life. Let's set the scene, shall we? Gabo's father, Gabriel Garcia, fell in love with Luisa Santiago Marquez, but Gabo's father, the colonel, wasn't exactly pleased with the fact that a conservative womanizer, well, reputation of one, was in love with their daughter, and she with him. Gabo wooed her with violin serenades, love poems, and letters, and telephone messages. Finally, the family realized that they couldn't keep the two apart, so they let them both be married. Gabo was told this tale for most of his life. This influenced him for cholera, as well as an incident in Cartagena, which I couldn't find out about at the time of this video. In it, two young people begin courting together, are torn apart, and brought back together when both are older. Why do I love this book so much? I suppose it's because I'm a hopeless romantic at heart, and I'm a sucker for love stories. And reading this story made me remember my first love, the pain and the suffering you go through. At one point, a character, a doctor, is asked to identify an old friend who's died. He tells the young assistants that this may not be the last one they see of a broken heart. And look carefully, for you will always find crystals in their hearts. That just sounds so lyrical and gorgeous, doesn't it? And when I mentioned that this was a film adaptation, there was a film version of this book done in 2007, which was directed by Mike Newell, the guy who directed Goblet of Fire, and starring Javier Bardem. The story goes is that Gabo was shown the final, unreleased version of the film in a private theater. At the end of the movie, he exclaimed, "Bravo!" with a big smile on his face. So there you go, my first in a series of favorite authors. The next one that I plan to do is a personal favorite of mine, and that is the one and only Stephen King. What with It, Chapter 2 already out in theaters, and then Dr. Sleep coming out in November, I figured, you know what, why not? And we'll talk a little bit about some of his short stories, his novellas. We'll talk a little bit about some of his big novels like The Stand, It, Carrie, The Shining, and we'll also talk a little bit about Dr. Sleep and how exactly this may tie into that. We'll also talk a little bit about his book Danse Macabre, in which he discusses horror, and also his semi-autobiographical novel on writing. So thank you guys so much for watching this. If you have any favorite authors that you want me to discuss or anything like that, let me know in the comments down below. There's also going to be an accompanying blog post on my website. I will put the link down below. And if you guys want to see more videos like this, please consider donating. There is a link to my donation site in the down below. And if you can, just, you know, if you want to see more videos, if you want to see more video essays, stuff like that, let me know. So, until next time, keep reading.